got the look. I wanna get to know you better. I had to let her know, but yo, I didn't sweat her. Cause if you would've seen what I was saying, almost looked Korean, but European. When she spoke, her accent was self-explanatory. Even her body language told a story. Her name was Mahogany.
Twins' name was Ebony.
I said my name is Ra, and this is Eric B. Since the music was loud, I said let's take a walk so we could talk and see New York. Showtime didn't start.
All right, I'm just trying to let it rock out to the, chorus. Might be a little long, y'all, but this is like hip hop, 90s. The sample, Blaze. Is that an Al Green sample? No. I think there's an Al. I think that's an Al Green, a little bit of a Love and Happiness sample in there. Not this part. That's something else. At any rate, you are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. You know, we always got a little bit of hip hop history for you, a little trivia, keep you up to date so that you are in the know. Shout out to Andy. You heard me mention that Eric B. and Rakim Mahogany and played it swiftly. It's a joint, you know. Rakim has one of the best voices in hip hop ever. I don't know who else I would put in that lineup. I'd really have to think about it. But I know Rakim easily comes to mind. Maybe Big Daddy Kane. I guess I like deep voices. I don't know who else. If we're talking flow, Kendrick has an interesting flow. You know, the way that he changes it up. I don't know, maybe Biggie, maybe Pac. What you think, Andy?
I was going to ask you, who's your top 5?
Who's in my top 5? Oh. All right. Tupac. I don't want to hear it. Tupac. I want to hear it from anybody out there. I love Pac. I love Pac. Now, we know Hennessy and Enemies. We know that lyrically, Pac may not be what some consider the greatest, but there's a lot of emotion in those rhymes. Substance, absolutely. That's what I was gonna. You know, you write songs like Brenda's Got a Baby. I mean, Dear Mama. You know, I mean, there's so many more that we could go through. I always say when people would do the Biggie Pac comparison, I love Biggie. Biggie spit, lyrical as heck, but Biggie, I rocked with Biggie, but Pac touched my soul. There's something, and that is the difference. You know what I mean? The content, just what he stood for, his depth of knowledge. So, you know, Pac's on there. Okay, Pac. Jay-Z. I love Jay. It's probably my age, but, you know, grew up with Jay. I think, obviously, part of that is his business acumen. You know, I know there's a debate as over the past few years whether his business acumen is really what people say it is and things of that nature. We'll have that conversation one day. But the way he's moved, the things that he's managed to do, when you think about his start, when you think about that, he was the B team, a lot of circumstance really, you know, led to his position. Go back and look at that Hawaiian Sophie video. You cannot tell me that you thought that man would be where he is today. So, Pac, J, right? Drake. I'm going to tell you why.
Wow.
Right, I know. Drake is consistent. I appreciate that Drake always takes chances with his music. Some people say he might bite. But one thing that he always does, when Drake will say hops on a wave early, I appreciate that he gets the originators or the people that are really down, you know, in there. He will go and hop on their track or bring them on to something with his. He always reaches out and makes that bridge to those that are coming up behind him. And I think that's big. You know, we've talked about Cardi doing that with this generation of female rappers. So I really respect that. You know, as far as the singing, rapping thing, we know Ja Rule started it off. Drake extended it. You know, he took what LL did as far as Loving the Ladies and amped it up. I subscribe that those early Drake albums, part of the reason why, and we see it a lot now, but part of the thing that was so attractive was that we didn't hear, especially in hip hop, men breaking down their feelings like that. You know, women would be sitting there, I wonder if he's thinking about me.
Ladies love that.
Huh?
And I was gonna say the ladies love that aspect of Drake.
Exactly. You know, Drake is telling you, yeah, I'm thinking about you. I'm looking at your picture, but I'm being reckless. And that's why I'm with all of these girls. And that's what most women want to hear, right? You're not cheating because you really want to be there. You're hurt because of the pain or something like that. I don't know. I just feel like Drake creatively, he's done a lot. He crossed a lot of genres. And really, I mean, say what you want. He did it well. He has a dope voice, the way that he flows. Houston, Atlanta, Vegas, successful. You know, you think about like early Drake, Heartbreak
Ransom.
Drake. Come on. So we're still waiting for all the dogs to drop. We'll see when that happens.
I was looking for it too. Didn't find it.
I mean, he playing games. Uzi said that we were silly. I think it was Yachty said we were silly thinking Drake was going to drop against him. I don't know, man. I'm just waiting because I'm a Drake fan and I pretty much am a consumer of all that he does. It doesn't mean that it all has long replay value. Can't say that. But I'm going to check it out and I'm going to lock in. So that's 3, right? What did I say? Pac, Jay, Drake. This is another, it's going to be like controversial. Maybe not. Snoop.
Why is that controversial?
I mean, because I don't know if do you really hear Snoop in the greatest conversations? I don't. I don't think you do.
Yeah.
Really, I don't hear a lot of people mention Snoop.
I mean, they talk about his longevity.
But not greatest. There's a difference in those two things.
It's subjective, but I've heard Snoop in certain categories.
I mean,
he's in mine.
Listen, Snoop has been around 30 plus years. I think about the Deep Cover soundtrack. His flow, right? Snoop is America's pitchman at this point. You know what I mean? He sells everything. And I respect that he's done it being as himself. Everybody knows Snoop smokes the ganja. He's going to come in with his eau de chronic cologne, you know, in a big puff cloud. And he's managed to make it work for him. And I think that as far as when you look at, especially considering some of the things that happened early, you think about how murder was really the case, and all of the different things that happened, escaping death row, down with Master P, just all the different aspects of the industry that Snoop has flown through and is still here, is still relevant. You know, he's a DJ. Listen, so he's in my top 5. And so that 5th spot, it's difficult because I think it should belong to a woman, right? Andy, push the headphones away. Because I am a woman and I feel like too many times we ignore what women have put down in that spot. But I go back and forth as to who that woman should really be. So I kind of leave it open. And then sometimes it's, you know, a man thing. I don't know. So I leave that 5th spot open because it changes. It is very much mood dependent. You know, it happens sometimes. But look, rock with me. We go through these things at least I do. I have a hard time locking in sometimes to the one and only, like this is the only thing, this is the only sort of impact that I make. My list change pretty frequently. We have Kamal. Is it Kamel? I always jack up his name. Kwamel. I apologize because in my mind, it should sound differently. What's going on with you? Happy Monday. Welcome into the VIP lounge.
Yeah, we're gonna get you to stop screwing up my name, Miss Munroe.
Well, you got to call more so you can keep me on point, right? Right.
I mean, you know, I could invent a whole bunch of ways to butcher your name, you know, but I don't want to be that guy. You know what I'm saying? Just, you know, we gotta, you know, black folks gotta hold down black folks when it comes to that sort of thing. You know, thank you, Andy, by the way. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, he and Miles, they're my brethren. So you know, I actually met Miles. I brought him through a mic where it's like a jam mic. Like, you know, heads come up in there, you know, kind of just do a lot of improv rapping. I know people call it freestyling, but Kane kind of got me off that thing of saying freestyle means off the head. So, you know, I understood where Kane was coming from, and I said, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna stop saying that my daggum. So,
Okay.
as I was telling Andy, I know you're gonna get into it because it's gonna be, you know, you're gonna talk about it anyway. But I don't think folks necessarily have to look at the art in top fives and in like, oh, who's greater, and constantly have to rank them and rate them and all this other stuff. Like I almost feel like after a while it takes away from being able to just enjoy the record, enjoy what got created. Like I moderate this hip hop group on Facebook, and they're so obsessed with verses and GOAT and underrated and rankings, and I'm sitting there like, this is not sports, you know what I'm saying? Like LL's been putting a battery on my back lately. He was talking with a Sway and on Breakfast Club as well, and just letting it be known, like, look, you know, this thing, it's not a sport. Like it's not something where you have to constantly be all like, who won this title and all that. Like I get it, it's competitive, but it's competitive in a sense of elevating, you know, like getting your bars up, as that one Exhibit song used to go. It's okay in an elevation sense, in a sense of making better product, making better art, making better music, dance, you know, graph, you know, better beatbox, whatever thing, and that sort of thing. It doesn't have to be that, like, oh, like my list must include Tupac because 20 people are gonna shoot me if I don't put Tupac on the list or put Eminem on the list. I think that's silly. Like, it's okay to enjoy special ed. It's okay to enjoy women can be ranked with men.
Facts.
And you know, there's women that actually write their own stuff. There's women that actually are barred out.
Facts.
You know, Megan may not be my cup of tea sonically, but she's barred out. Like the woman can spit.
Yep.
You know, Rhapsody can spit. You know, like Bahamadia can. You know, like there's spitters out there, male and female, that it's like, hey, like, you know, okay, yeah, we get it. You know, that Pac is popular and resonated with the hood and all that. But it's okay to come out and say, you know what? I mean, like, who cares if the top people of all time actually like this dope record right here. It's all good to like this record. You know what I mean?
But I explained some of my thing. At least for me, Pac is not, it's because it's popular. Pac is because I really rock with Pac. Day one, first album, you know, where he had the girl in the video. I'm blanking on the name of the single right now. She had the hat on, and all through the video, you thought she was a boy until the end of the video, and you figured out that she was a girl. Shout out to you. Thank you for the call. When we come forward, we will have a pre-recorded interview that I did with Stephanie Noni Dunivan. She is the VP of Essence, in charge of branded content and video. She is also the executive producer of the OWN TV docuseries Time of Essence, which chronicles the first 50 years of Essence magazine. It features all sorts of interviews, including Gabrielle Union, Serena Williams, tons of people. They discuss various aspects of Essence from the cover. And so we had a conversation about Essence as a whole, what it means to the community. I also asked some questions for you men to see if this special was appropriate for the men. So we're going to hear that. If you're checking this out on YouTube, just know that this portion is audio only. And when we come forward, we'll have that interview. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, I am Jasmine Carson, LSU Women's Basketball National Champion. I had to up my game, and this time I upped my intimate grooming routine too. Venus for Pubic Hair and Skin is the only razor and regimen specifically designed for your pubic area. Featuring a razor with a patented irritation defense bar and a skincare regimen that is dermatologist tested, Venus helps protect your pubic skin from shave irritation. Visit GilletteVenus.com to learn more about the full regimen of products.
Be ready for extreme heat in your area. On days when extreme heat is expected, take action to keep your home as cool as possible. Set your air conditioner to 78 degrees. If AC isn't available, close blinds and curtains on all windows and run fans counterclockwise. Or find your nearest cooling center. transportation help may be available. Learn more at heatreadyca.com. Brought to you by the state of California.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look, and unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at the gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
So, Stephanie, it's so nice to meet you. I'm Jill Munroe. My show is RSVP with Jill Munroe. It's on KBLA Talk 1580. So, I'm excited. This project, Growing Up, is like your style guide, your society pages, all of that. What did Essence mean to you coming up before you actually started working there?
Oh, what did Essence mean to me? Essence has always been the fabric within the fabric of my household, for sure. My mom always had the pages open to In the Spirit by Susan L. Taylor. And I don't know, it just kind of really removed whatever limitations was going on the outside world. I can look in the pages of those magazines and see myself reflected, but in the flyest way, in the most powerful way, in the smartest way. That is absolutely how it contributed to me, for sure, growing up.
So working on this project and getting the opportunity to revisit moments from over the past 50 or so years, what were some things that stood out to you?
Woo! I mean, what absolutely stood out to me, I'm so proud of how deep we went with the stories. This is not just a 5-part series marketing show where we're like, oh, we're so great. No, it's just like we're really peeling back the curtain and letting people know. So you see unseen footage, untold stories. And the beautiful part is this is not one person like painting a narrative and sitting people down and it's like, okay, we need you to say this. Like everybody, it's a room, it's a beautiful chair, and somebody sitting in it and telling whatever their experience was at Essence throughout the decades was it. So you even see in the first episode, somebody's experience is like, I don't think she was trying to take her job. She's like, well, I was trying to take her job. Like you're seeing it in its truest form, and we just allow people to tell their truths of what their experience was throughout the decades, which makes for a really compelling series for sure.
So you joined Essence in 2017. You were with other creative companies. Shout out to us both being former BET.
Come on, BET.
So bringing in, with a series like this, the visuals are very important in addition to the story. So what is it that you love about Essence as far as a visual concept, and then bringing that to this production that is now on OWN?
I love that the world really gets to see the amount of beauty that we've been able to produce throughout the years. When I first joined at Essence, on the video team, I would say, oh, I'm working at Essence, supervising producer over festival video. And they're like, oh, Essence has video? I thought it was just a festival and a magazine. It's just like, we've been producing beautiful images for years, but with this documentary throughout the years, people really get to see, kind of chronicalized right in front of them, all the beauty that we've been able to produce and how we've really celebrated her and her true authentic self throughout the years. You'll also see, as it starts to change ownership, how that with how the visual change, and then when we went back to Black owned, what that looks like. So it's a really, really interesting thing to see within the series for sure, but very, very proud of the visuals. Absolutely.
So again, as we talk about, there's many years, many stories, many imageries that draw out. Was there a cover subject or a story that was featured in the series that stood out to you as something maybe you didn't know about or you got a fresh take on through this experience?
So good. There's so many. Like every episode, we unpack some kind of cover in the story behind it. Like I think tonight we're going to talk about Vanessa Williams and the decrowning, and the fact that she was on the Essence cover, but before it came out was when the scandal dropped, and like all the behind the scenes of advertisers wanting to pull out and we still want to support her, and the story behind that. And then in later episodes, you'll see that we featured the first woman with AIDS and HIV on the cover, and what that did, and just kind of really pushing the envelope and telling the stories that really need to be told. We had a gang member, a gang leader on the cover, and she was actually at our premiere last week, and just talking about the organizations that she's had and how she's helped other girls come out of that life, and really highlighting these and not sweeping them under the rug. Yes, it's a publication that celebrates beauty, but definitely you'll see under Susan Taylor how she was constantly pushing to tell these real stories, kind of juxtaposed with the beauty and glamour. But you know, the crack epidemic, all of those things were really important to highlight within the pages as well.
So to your point, Essence is like Whitney and Shaka. They're every woman and they appeal to all. Yes.
Come on, Jill. You know what it is.
So throughout the years, though, obviously the trajectory for a young Black woman or an older Black woman, or how we see them, has changed. So what do you think of the evolution of Black womanhood as seen through the eyes of Essence over these 50 years?
Whew. You know what is so, and you guys will witness this as you watch the episodes, is even trying to put in a bucket of what the Black woman is or supposed to be. I think that's kind of what we've evolved to. Now we know Black women are not a monolith. We're not all the same. We don't all come from the same place. Some of us want to twerk on stage with Meg Thee Stallion. Some of us want to, you know, take the high road. But I think that is probably the biggest evolution. Some of us, you know, we're all around the world as well. We're not just in the States, we're international now. There are Black women, there are Afro-Latinas that are getting representation as well. So I think that that's probably the biggest evolution. It's not just one age group anymore. You know, we have Girls United, which is our little sister kind of platform where we're celebrating that. And, you know, at Essence Festival, we have In His Zone, where we have a space for the men and conversations just for them. So we're really kind of spreading our wings and broadening our reach to who we even speak to. So it's not just one lane anymore.
So I love that you brought up that at Essence Fest, there is a designated area or programming for men. So I'm sure men are going to take up this docuseries to, you know, learn some things. So for them, you know, maybe they might be a little intimidated. What are some of the things that they could look forward to or learn about an Essence woman or the Essence legacy through this?
This is so good. Well, first of all, Essence was founded by 4 Black men. So they're at the genesis of even this great brand. We have plenty of contributors that are within the series that are actually Black men that are telling their stories, whether they were behind the scenes, we have plenty of those, or whether they were on the cover like Boris Kodjoe and Taye Diggs, contributing to it. it's just a really great, easy watch, easy like cheat sheet to know the history of it. I say that this program is multi-generational. I was watching, my mom is watching, I'm watching, and I'm watching with my daughter. There's something there for everyone, and we're all looking through it through different lenses. Like my mom is like, I remember that in the 70s. I'm here like being super inspired by all the Black powerful women that were behind the magazine and their stories. And then my daughter is just, she's getting a view of it as a historical artifact, which she can learn about this brand that's still here, but all the things that it took to get to where it is.
So for you personally, in your role, what do you want to see the next 50 years of Essence involved?
Oh man, there's so much excitement around the next 50 years. I definitely see us doing more premium OTT content like this. Our great partners at OWN, what we can do in the future there, especially under the Essence Studios imprint. So I definitely see more there. I definitely see more in the international space. I see more branching out into other spaces like things for Gen Z under GU, and in the Afropunk space and the BeautyCon space. And just like, it's just so limitless. I could take up a whole hour talking about it, but I think that this is a really, really great catalyst to the next 50 years as people kind of see where we've been, and gain excitement for what we're about to do in the next 50.
So kind of along those lines, we are seeing sort of, and again, something that Essence has always highlighted, but it's coming through in a different way, the emergence of athletes and their positioning as far as what we thought of them, how we, look at them, what we define as strength and beauty through, a very lens. So for you being at Essence, what is your feeling about the level of Black women in sport right now and their involvement? We have women like Angel Reese, we have Simone doing her thing, Biles, obviously Serena and pregnant. So just can you talk a little bit about some aspects of the Essence woman in this time frame?
So I love that you brought that up, Jill, because last year we launched our franchise Black Women in Sports. And to answer that exact question, there are so many Black women in sports that do not get their flowers, that do not get their proper acknowledgement. And Black Women in Sports is an incredible award ceremony that we have started to do. We've honored Carrie Champion. We've honored Jamil Hill. Last year, we were live during the Super Bowl and honoring some more, the first Black female coach and manager. So just making sure that we're not waiting for somebody else to recognize or waiting for somebody else to give flowers. We're creating platforms so that we can do that, because we have been, since the beginning of sports, like making such great strides in that space. So creating kind of this moment where we can give flowers and recognition is really, really important for us. So we'll continue to do that in that space for sure.
Amazing. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
The episodes and checking them out and seeing what is next for Essence.
Thank you so much, Jill.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
The University of North Carolina confirms one faculty member was killed after a shooting on campus Monday. Police say they have a suspect in custody, but they're not releasing a name or possible charges. Black UNC Police Chief Brian James gave details at a news conference.
The lockdown of the campus remained while police verified the suspect's identity and conducted a comprehensive search for the weapon that was used in the shooting, which at this time has not been located.
Officials said classes will be canceled on Tuesday. Finally, President Biden will attend a ceremony in Alaska to mark the 22nd anniversary of the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks. The White House announced Biden will take part in the event with troops and military families at Joint Base Mellendorf-Richardson. And that's the latest. I'm Esther Dillard from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Score big on sleep and savings during Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. Save up to $700 on select Tempur-Pedic adjustable beds. and get a $300 instant gift. Good towards pillows and more.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family was founded to help address domestic violence and sexual assault in the Asian and the Pacific Islander communities. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family's mission is to build healthy and safe communities by addressing the root causes and consequences of family violence and violence against women. They are committed to meeting the specific cultural and language needs of the Asian and Pacific Islander women and their families. CPAF's vision is of an Asian and Pacific Islander community that embraces healthy relationships and works in partnership with other communities to eradicate all forms of violence. To access services, volunteer, or for more info, visit nurturingchange.org. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe everyone deserves to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go: shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms: irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
I have diabetes. I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I have asthma. I'm at risk too.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a vaccine that can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Ew. Gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried new Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in 1 wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I just gotta bring it to their attention, dirty. That's all.
You better watch who you talking about. Running your mouth like you know me. You gon' fuck around and chill while the show me get called and show me. Why one-on-one you can't hold me. If your last name was Hayne, only way you can work me out is stitch my name on your pan. No resident of France, but you swear I'm from Paris.
Shout out to Ashanti. Spinning the block. You know, one of my friends today asked me when I was going to discuss spinning the block on the show. So, you know, I know that this Nelly was for hip hop in the discussion that we are about to have. Because, you know, Andy's always tapped in. But I just had to shout out Ashanti because Ashanti's fine and she's spinning the block right now. I think that we're going to have the spin the block discussion maybe Wednesday when Trent is here. I think that that would be a good day to have that discussion. Andy?
You know what irks me about that? You know, when they originally broke up, everybody was like, man, what's up with Nelly? Like how could you drop that? How could you fumble the bag? And I just think that, you know, a lot of people are just looking at the aesthetics or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? You're not actually dealing with the individual. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that, you know, once you get into it, once you get into a relationship with somebody, looks don't have that
they
same
fade.
You can still be attracted to the person, but the looks is not what's going to continue to keep you.
Right. Looks attract you, personality keeps you.
100%. So, you know, for everybody that's like, oh, yeah, he fumbled the bag, this, that, and the third, how could you do this? Just know that, you know, when you get into it with somebody, when you get into a relationship, looks do fade. So,
I mean, I was always told that the baddest chick becomes the average chick if you've been with her too long.
Absolutely.
So,
100%.
you know, I mean, it happens. Not to me, of course, but, you know, to you mere mortals, maybe. Just kidding, guys. So we are going to get into the top 16 highest selling rappers based of all time, right? So this list is very different from some of the other lists that we have discussed through our journey through the 50 years of hip hop. We still have, you know, a couple more days to go in August, although I might extend it because why not? I love hip hop. Hip hop's important. But I thought that this is an interesting topic because there is a difference, you know, and we had a reference to it earlier about what you like, what you enjoy, and what is purely a numbers-based conclusion, right? So we are going to get into this top 16. What I can tell you is that number 16, it's a tie. It's a three-way tie, actually. And I'm going to be quite honest with you. I was surprised by at least one of these names.
And this is based on their album sales.
Singles. So this is these are the 16 highest selling rappers of all time based on album. So total album, not just, I don't think, well, they don't call out if they're including singles separately, but I'm going to say that they are including the whole work. And this is according to the Recording Industry Association of America. You know, they are who award the platinum plaques and all of that. So at number 16, with 12.5 million albums sold, it's an old school rapper, LL Cool J. He was one of the first rappers to ever achieve mainstream success. You know, his 1985 debut was Radio, which featured the hit song I Need a Beat. We saw, if you've seen Crush Groove, which is one of my top hip hop movies, you need to go see it. That's the early story of Rush, Russell Simmons, and Def Jam. And so, you know, there's a scene that is famously reenacted in there of somewhat like LL's journey to Def Jam, but he's in that. New Edition's in it too. The Fat Boys, Sheila E. It's a great movie. Blair Underwood played Russell Simmons. But anyway, Full Force, they were in it as the bodyguards. Go check that out. It's a hip-hop classic. So since LL released his first album in 1985, he's released 12 more studio albums. The most recent album that he dropped was Authentic, which dropped in 2013. We know that this summer he went on tour for the first time in many, many years with the Rock the Bell tour to celebrate the 50th anniversary of hip-hop. I think LL is someone that gets overlooked because he's been an actor for the past like 15 or so years. He really was the first rapper actor. He did a movie with Michael J. Fox back in the day. Can't remember. Life with Mikey, maybe? I don't know. I think he played an undercover detective or a police detective in it, but he was basically like one of the first rapper to cross over and to cross that barrier, you know? So shout out to Uncle L. Also tied at number 16 with 12.5 million albums. This person's in my top 5. We just discussed Snoop Dogg. So, you know, the title of Snoop's 6th album was Paid the Cost to Be the Boss. And we know that Snoop has paid a lot of dues, a lot of cost over his time period. So 7 of Snoop's 19 studio albums. And I did not realize that Snoop had 19 albums. I wonder if they're counting stuff that he's done with like, what's the, you know, I Love It. What's the crew, Andy, that Snoop did? Eastsiders, yeah, I wonder if they're counting stuff like that. Snoop has 19 albums? That's crazy. We know there's a gospel album in there, a reggae album, but anyway, 19 of those albums have gone platinum. So, you know, and we know in the current times, that's a rarity. Also tied at, well, it's actually 13.5 million, but they say he's also tied with Snoop. I don't understand. I guess they mean basically he would be the 15, but not the 15. He's really the 13 because of the tie. So that would be Ludacris. Ludacris is one of the top selling rappers of all time at 13.5 million. He is one of the first Dirty South superstars, really. If you think about it, I mean, there's lots, right? But I'm saying superstar. Notice the language, because language matters. We know in the early 2000s, Luda busted on the scene and took over. His whole rap style was different, the creativity in his videos. He mentioned earlier this year that he's gearing up to make a return to music after an 8-year hiatus. So Luda's coming back. He got that work for you. You know, and Luda's witty. He can spit. I think people forget that. And he's another one that, you know, for the past, 15 years, we've seen him in Fast and Furious 227. You know, we saw him in Hustle and Flow. He did his thing. I'm going to tell you one of the most chilling episodes of Law and Order SVU I've ever seen. Ludacris was the villain in that. And he played Detective Tutuola, which is played by Ice-T, his like nephew, and he was nuts in that. It was really crazy. Saw another side of Ludacris. So, you know, I'm a Law and Order fan. I go to sleep to it. Not all the time, but that used to be my, like, you know, my comfort show to go to sleep. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, Luda is in the building. So at number 12, with 14 million albums sold, DMX, Get At Your Dog. So his first 3 albums, 1998's is Dark and Hell is Hot, and Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. Because remember, DMX was the first rapper to release 2 albums in 1 year, with both of those albums going to number 1. So we talking about record-setting things happen. That was back in 98. And then he came back in 99 and released, and then there was X. He sold a combined total of 12 million copies of those albums. You got to think about it, though. DMX's career, when you think about the number of albums and the time frame, actually relatively short. What he did in 1998 had never been done before. He came in there and was knocking everybody out the box, running things. So just something to keep in mind. Rest in peace, DMX. We miss you greatly. So number 11 is 50 Cent. 50 has sold 15.5 million albums. So obviously his 2003 debut, Get Rich or Die Trying, it was one of the iconic releases of the 2000s. We know he had that rap battle with Kanye West back in the day to see whose album would reach number 1 with the release. You know, Get Rich or Die Trying sold over 9 million copies by itself. I'm sure it's very close to diamond status at this point, which is 10 million copies. When we come forward, we will get into the rest of the list. It consists of, some of your favorites. Again, some that are going to surprise you and some that you would probably expect. All of that and more. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, I'm Jay Winnick. On 9/11, I lost my brave brother Glenn in the collapse of the World Trade Center. Glenn was a volunteer firefighter who died in the line of duty. Glenn's bravery inspired me to help start the nonprofit that's turned September 11th into a national day of service. For 9/11 this year, please join me by doing what Glenn would have done, taking time to help others. Please visit 911day.org to learn more.
Dominique DePrima here. Having a good credit score is one critical step to obtain a loan to buy a home. But did you know that your credit score is just one factor in getting a mortgage loan? Think about this. Lenders also consider your income, your employment history, current monthly debts, the size of the loan, and the amount of your down payment. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives support you in reaching them. Access your personal financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The rent is too damn high. KBLA joins you in calling for affordable housing. The LA Tenants Union is a diverse, tenant-led movement fighting for the human right to housing for all. The LA Tenants Union demands safe, affordable housing and union rent control. They organize against landlord harassment, mass evictions, and displacement, and mobilize for the repeal of the Ellis Act and Costa-Hawkins Act. The LA Tenants Union is on a mission to strengthen tenants' political power through education, advocacy, and direct action. To get help with your eviction or other landlord-tenant issues, take action for justice, or become a member, visit latenantsunion.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Attention taxpayers, ready for some bad news? With $80 billion in new funding from Congress, the IRS has launched their most aggressive hiring campaign ever to ramp up enforcement. If you're ignoring your taxes, don't delay another minute, because your paycheck, your bank account, even your home or business could already be at risk. Now, here's the good news. Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax relief firm, can get to work immediately helping to protect you from the IRS. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their tax attorneys and licensed professionals are experts at resolving tax problems. Let them help determine if you qualify for the Fresh Start Initiative or other powerful IRS tax assistance programs. Take control. Call Optima Tax Relief now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580, and we are running down the top 16 best-selling hip-hop artists of all time selling. So this is purely album sales that we are running this list down. So number 10 is where we're at, and I think it's kind of interesting. Part of this, we're going to have to give the lob to a double album. Part of this, we're going to have to give a lob to Tragedy, but it fits and it tracks. So with 21 million albums sold, it's the notorious B.I.G., Biggie Smalls, Ready to Die, obviously, was his first album. And then in March of 1997, released just a few short weeks after he passed, I believe. Or maybe it just came out. Can't remember. I know that Going Back to Cali was one of the singles, was Life After Death, which, the album title, obviously, with everything that happened, was so haunting, just everything that was going on. The project sold 6 million copies and is regarded as one of the greatest rap albums ever made. That's the double album. So obviously, you know what the first album was doing. And then we know he had a third album, which was the Biggie Duets. Don't know how that clocks into this. So I'm going to say it's included, but really we're talking the first two albums, so 21 million. Number 9, that would be Pimp Juice. Nelly with 23 million albums sold. That's how he was able to get all that money for that catalog. Listen, very few rap albums have managed to go diamond, right? It's not a distinction that we hear for a whole lot of albums. But his debut project, Country Grammar, and of course, you know, it had Air Force Ones, Ride With Me, all of that stuff. That's an album that went over the diamond mark. So, you know, shout out to Pimp Juice. Number 9, which is tied with Pimp Juice, right? I don't know why I keep calling Nelly Pimp Juice. You know, we know it's a nickname, but it's kind of outdated. With 23 million albums sold as well is a group. Our first group entry, Outkast. That's right. The South got something to say. That's what Andre 3000 said. So, you know, they sold plenty of albums. They blended hip hop, funk, and all of that. They took 2 independent albums, put it together, and made one double album for Speakerboxx, The Love Below. And, you know, a star was born. What's up, Andy?
Not trying to diss or not trying to discredit, but Nelly and Outkast, specifically Andre 3000, which I believe his version was what, The Love Below?
Yeah.
Those were all crossover type albums.
Absolutely.
Hence why I think the sales went pretty high.
But you think about the time period, too, and these are mostly early 2000s albums. And TRL was the big thing at that time, and hip-hop was becoming more and more mainstream. So I think that has a great deal to do with that.
And I think their style of music was a breath of fresh air when it comes to hip-hop. It
Yep.
wasn't as aggressive. It was kind of like alternative hip-hop.
Exactly. I think that's a great point. Also tied at number 9, and I bet you, depending upon how deep your hip-hop roots go, may not be familiar with this group or their music, but I can tell you this, I rocked out to this first album. So at 23 million albums sold, once again, it's the Beastie Boys. So their first album, License to Ill, is one of the highest selling hip-hop debut albums ever. It shipped, so that means it had orders. It shipped diamond status. It shipped 10 million. They didn't even have diamond status at the time. It wasn't even a thing. Wasn't called about. So it was released in 1986. The album included the hit songs Fight for Your Right to Party, which was all over MTV, No Sleep Till Brooklyn, and if you want to hear a beat, you want to hear some old school Gen X people go crazy, put on Paul Revere. Maybe even a little Brass Monkey, but Paul Revere for sure. That backwards beat. Doom, doom, doom. Anyway, go check that out if you didn't know, if you weren't aware, maybe you're young. The Beastie Boys are white. They were Jewish. So they were very breakthrough. They were iconic at the time when they came out and what they stood for. And, you know, then they went through all of these different things, but shout out to the Beastie Boys. At number 6, Lil Wayne, 25 million albums sold. He's released 13 studio albums, 5 EPs, and 29 mixtapes. Of course, his most successful project was the 6th studio album, 2008's The Carter 3. That sold 8 million copies. So, you know, give it maybe another couple years. It'll probably be a diamond too. So, Lil Weezy out of there, you know, putting it in. Andy, what say you?
Very surprised, but I think the majority of those sales have to come from The Carter 3.
Yep.
Has to.
I mean, listen. So, well, we think about it. They said The Carter 3 is 8 million. So that means 17 million of something else.
They might be counting that Hot Boy stuff.
It gotta be.
It got to.
Gotta be. Number 5 with 27.5 million albums sold, Kanye West. So we know he's fallen off as far as album sales, in some recent years. But check this out. Gold Digger wasn't just a song. Ye knows what he's doing. He had the beats. He was digging in the crates. His sample, the way that he was putting his samples together and digging them and speeding them up, and the way he was utilizing, different. His first 3 albums, okay, College Dropout, Late Registration, and Graduation, sold a combined total of 14 million albums. So there it is right there. I know we kind of mad at Ye, but it is what it is as far as his legacy and what he's done. Now, at number 4, this surprised me. This surprised me. But shout out to him. I mentioned I loved him earlier. With 33.5 million albums sold, right? As well as shipping millions more. Well, not more, but of physical copies. This is an artist that is still selling physical copies. Drake is the most successful artist in music history in terms of digital sales. Okay, so physical and digital. To date, he sold 188 million singles. All right, so you got to give him his props. You got to shout out Heartbreak Drake. We had a conversation about him a little while ago. Give Drake his due. So also tied at number 4 with 33.5 million, Jay-Z. So, 13 studio albums. The latest was 444. That was dropped in 2017. Platinum. All of his studio albums have gone at least platinum. So, can't knock that. Can't dismiss it, right? At number 2, who do you think number 2 is, Andy? Number 2 is Pac, with 36.5 million albums sold. So we know he's had 11 platinum selling albums. We know Pac was in the studio for days. He had so much material. Some of that stuff should not have been released, but it was, and listen, we're coming up on 23 years next month of Pac's death. We know the Don Illuminati Theory, the 7-Day Theory, was the last album he released, and it topped the Billboard 200. That one sold 4 million copies. And at number 1, far ahead of everyone else, right? Far. Like almost double what Pac did, is Eminem with 61.5 million albums sold. His first studio album only managed to sell 1,000 copies. It was called Infinite. But now he's the highest selling rap artist in history. So shout out to Eminem. Shout out to everybody on the list. Hit us up on social media. If you have comments, leave a message for us on the app. Make sure that you are locked in for RSVP tomorrow. We will have guest contributor in Giandra LaBeouf. We'll have some more interviews and, of course, more trending topics and headlines across entertainment, sports, culture, and lifestyle. I'm Jill Munroe. Thank you for rocking with us. When we come for it, you'll hear the best of KBLA. Have an amazing night, and I will talk with you tomorrow, VIPs.
So without further ado, I bring to you. You about to witness hip-hop in its most purest, most rawest form, flow, or most flawless, most hardest, most honest, known artist. Chip off the old block, but old doc is...
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Republican Governor